There's a level of discipline so rare that most people never experience it. A level where your habits become so sharp, so consistent, so unwavering, that people stop calling you committed and start calling you crazy. Not because you're reckless, not because you're obsessed in a toxic way, but because your standards no longer match the world around you. This is the level Miyamoto Musashi lived in, the undefeated samurai who won over 60 duels, a man who trained with the kind of focus that made people question if he was even human. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. You don't need to be a warrior to reach that level. You just need to become someone who no longer negotiates with their excuses. Most people struggle not because they lack potential, but because their discipline is fragile. You've probably felt it yourself. You wake up motivated, ready to change your life. You tell yourself, I'm done wasting time. This is my moment. But a few hours later, that spark fades. A notification pulls your focus. A craving steals your momentum. A moment of doubt convinces you to delay everything until tomorrow. You want to build a routine. You want to be consistent. You want to stop living at the mercy of your moods. But life gets loud. Responsibilities pile up. Fatigue settles in. Distractions surround you. And suddenly the person you promised to become feels far away again. Deep inside, you know what you're capable of. You know there's a version of you who could be unstoppable if you simply kept your word to yourself, day after day, without needing motivation, applause, or perfect conditions. But you also know how easily you break that promise. That gap between who you are and who you could be is where your frustration lives. Musashi understood something powerful. Most people lose not because they're weak, but because they're inconsistent. And the truth is simple. The world has become so used to distraction that genuine discipline now looks extreme. Let's step into a story. Imagine a young Musashi standing in the quiet morning air. His world was not filled with screens, noise, or constant interruptions, but it was filled with danger, pressure, and uncertainty. Every day could be his last. Every duel could end everything. Yet he didn't train only to survive. He trained to become undeniably excellent. He would wake before the sun and practice sword strokes thousands of times, not hundreds, thousands. He pushed his body until it shook. He pushed his mind until it became still like water. And he pushed his spirit until fear had no room left inside him. One evening, after a long day of practice, a student asked him, "Master, why do you train so much? You're already the best swordsman in the region." Musashi looked at him and said, "I train not to defeat others. I train to defeat my own weakness." That is the heart of real discipline. A few years later, Musashi faced one of his most famous duels. His opponent was known for power, aggression, and violent skill. People warned Musashi not to fight him. They said the man was unpredictable, dangerous. They said even Musashi could die. But Musashi didn't waver. He didn't rely on hype. He didn't rely on strength. He didn't rely on luck. He relied on the hours, the years, the discipline that no one saw. On the morning of the duel, he arrived late, a strategic psychological move. His opponent grew angry, unsettled, emotional. Musashi stayed calm, composed, centered. When he finally stepped onto the field, he carved a wooden sword from an oar. People thought he was insane. Why would anyone choose wood over steel? To outsiders, it looked like madness. But to Musashi, it was precision. It was preparation. It was a lifetime of training condensed into one moment. The duel ended in seconds. Musashi won with a single clean strike. People said he was crazy. They said he was superhuman. But Musashi knew the truth. He simply lived with a discipline that others were not willing to practice. He didn't care about comfort. He didn't wait for the right moment. He didn't negotiate with his mind. He didn't break promises to himself. He built habits so strong, they became part of his identity. Imagine applying that to your own life. Not swords, not duels, but to your goals, your growth, your discipline. What would happen if you trained your focus like a warrior trains for survival? What if you built habits that didn't depend on motivation or mood? What if you became so consistent that people started calling you crazy because they couldn't understand your standards? This story isn't about a samurai. It's about what you could become if you stopped letting your mind work against you. Why is it so hard to reach this level? Because your brain is designed to protect you from discomfort. It doesn't care about your goals. It cares about safety. When you try to wake up early, your brain says, stay in bed, it's warm. When you try to train your focus, your brain says, check your phone, it feels good. When you try to build discipline, your brain says, let's start tomorrow. This is not weakness. It's biology. Your mind wants comfort. Discipline requires discomfort, and that creates conflict. Most people give up because they wait to feel ready, but Musashi's discipline didn't come from feelings. It came from identity. He didn't say, I will act disciplined when I feel motivated. He said, I act disciplined because I am disciplined. Identity leads, habits follow. You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your preparation. This is why you struggle, not because you lack ambition, but because your mind fears the pain of change more than the pain of staying the same. The good news, you can train your brain the same way he trained his sword. Here's a simple Musashi-inspired framework you can start today. 1. Kill the optional mindset. Most people say, I'll try to do it. Musashi would say, I must do it. Remove the option to negotiate with yourself. 2. One discipline controls all others. Pick one core habit, not 5, not 12. 1. Something simple but foundational. Daily reading, a focused work block, training your body, skill practice. Master one habit, expand later. 3. Train even when you don't feel like it. Musashi trained every day, injured or tired, not recklessly, but consistently. The days you train without motivation are the days that shape your identity. 4. Practice stillness. Musashi said, fixation is the way to death, fluidity is the way to life. Sit in silence for 2 minutes daily. Let your mind calm. Train your focus like a muscle. 5. Remove one comfort each week. Cold shower. Fast from social media. Wake earlier. Clean your room, not to punish yourself, but to teach your brain that discomfort is not a threat. 6. Review your progress weekly. Warriors didn't train blindly. They evaluated their weaknesses. Ask yourself, what did I avoid this week? Where did I break my discipline? What tiny improvement can I make tomorrow? Small corrections, big transformation. Here's the paradox. When you finally become disciplined, your life gets quieter. You stop seeking validation. You stop explaining your routines. You stop chasing quick rewards. You stop caring about what people think. And that's when they start calling you crazy, not because you're extreme, but because you're rare. Discipline today is rebellion. In a world built to distract you, focus is a superpower. Musashi wasn't respected because he fought. He was respected because he trained. Like the battle mattered every day. Your life is not a duel, but your future is. And the opponent is not your environment. It's your weaker self, the part of you that wants shortcuts, comfort, and excuses. Every time you choose discipline, you weaken that opponent. Every time you avoid it, you strengthen it. The runner. A man decided to run every morning, not for fitness, for discipline. On rainy days, people called him crazy. On freezing days, they called him insane. But he kept running. 1 year later, he wasn't just stronger. He was unrecognizable, not in his body, in his mindset. The student. A student studied 2 hours every night. No excuses, no negotiations. People mocked him, said he needed to relax. He became the top performer in his field. The same people who laughed started asking for advice. The artist. An artist practiced sketching every day for 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. In 6 months, her work looked professional. People said she had natural talent. They didn't see the 10 minutes, but the 10 minutes changed her life. Small choices, big consequences. So here's the truth. Becoming disciplined doesn't make you special. It makes you who you were always meant to be. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be fearless. You don't need to be legendary. You just need to stop breaking promises to yourself. Musashi didn't become undefeated because of luck. He became undefeated because he became unstoppable, long before he stepped into a duel. And you can become unstoppable, long before the world ever sees your results. Discipline is not about looking strong. It's about becoming strong inside. Start small. Start today. Start with one promise, and keep it. If this message sparked something inside you, stay close, subscribe, reflect, grow with this journey. And remember, you don't need applause. You don't need motivation. You only need discipline so strong that one day people will call you crazy, but you'll know you're finally becoming who you were meant to be.